Welcome back to Frank's Model Aviation Workshop. This is episode 23 in the Top Flite P-40E Warhawk Build. This is the 60 size version. This episode we're going to concentrate on getting the cowl fitted up, glued together, bondoed and sanded. Not necessarily, primed or anything. I'm not ready for that. But I want to get it to where I can get done with this fuselage, get this corner here on each side sanded to shape. Got to put some blocks in here for gluing, or not gluing, but bolting the cowl to it. And we'll get this thing ready to get off this table so we can put the wing back on here and do the retracts. So before we get started, if you like this type of content, consider subscribing to my channel. Hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new installment of the build, and like and share my videos. I really appreciate that. It helps my channel out, and well, without further ado, let's get going. Okay, to start off on the cowl fitment, I'm going to start by placing this up here with a 1/16 inch piece of ply to keep my gap. And I want to make sure that when this is fitted on, that I maintain my 1/16 gap. So as you can see, the way it's setting, I'm going to have to trim these level. And I want to make it to where my spinner transitions nice right here. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to trim these sides to where when I place this on there, it sits perfectly on these blocks with a nice transition and my 1/16 inch gap. So I'll get you repositioned and we'll work on that. Okay, so my arms are probably going to be in the way sometimes of the video, but I'm going to place this just like this. And it looks to me like I got about 1/8 of an inch to cut off the front. So what I'm going to do is I already got marked lines on the sides where it's supposed to be cut. I'm just going to cut to those lines all the way and then place it back on there and see what we got. So here's where I need to take that 1/8 off, but I'm just going to cut to that line first, see what that gives me. That's just an initial cut. So I still need to take a ton off that. So what I'm going to do now I'll show you, I'll reposition you. I'll show you on this side, but I gotta do it on the other side first. So you look down the length of the airplane, and it looks level to me with the aircraft. So I'm going to take, and I know I have an 1/8 of an inch right there, so matter of fact, I'm going to hold it with a piece of tape so I don't have to have 3 hands. I'll put that where I think it needs to be, sideways. Okay, so that's going to hold that cowl side right where I think it needs to be. And I look down and I'm seeing an 1/8. I'll measure just to be sure, but I'm seeing an 1/8 to get me to the bottom of that spinner there. And yeah, it's an 1/8. So what I'm going to do is I'll take basically the ruler, mark an 1/8. Come down here on the end. Make sure when you're moving stuff around that it's back where you put it. Mark an 1/8 there. You can see that the 1/8 down here is not exactly an 1/8. I'm gonna do the same over here. Come on. Let's do this. The lighting in this room absolutely stinks. See what I'm doing there? I'm repositioning it so I don't mess my line up. Okay. Now I'll take it off and draw my line, and I'm going to leave the line when I cut it. I'm just placing this back up here so that I can double check. Okay. Just take your time doing this, because unless you want to be buying a cowl from Fiberglass Specialties, I don't feel like spending extra money on stuff. I'll wait till I get this side done before I cut across. And I'm leaving the line. Yeah, let's see what it looks like. I'm trying to do this to show as much as I can. That looks really close. I'll move this out of the way so I can see. Man, that is really close. I think I'm just going to sand it to be perfect. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. Try not to make you dizzy either. Just want you to be able to see fitment. Okay, so what that's telling me when I do that is I need to take some off the back end. And I'm just going to do that by sanding it. I tell you, I'll just show you. I'll keep you in that position for now. You know, I'm just fitting. So I'm just going to sand off of this edge. That one's good. Now I need to do the same over here. You know, tell you what, I'm just gonna sand this a little bit more. I'm gonna be happy with that. Just doing a little bit of fine tuning. Trying to get that down just a little bit more without having to cut it. I mean, it's sitting on there perfectly. Yeah, it needs to come down just a little bit more. So you just keep sanding until it fits right. I'm sanding off this front side here. Up here. I know it's a little loud. Now I'm adjusting the sides. One side at a time. once I get this where I want it. See, when I push back on it like this, I want it to set there and not go back. So that tells me I need to take some off right here. Just a little, not much. I don't know how Mike did his. I think he glued his together ahead of time, but you know, that's fine. I figure if I got this front perfect where it sets, I can adjust these cowl sides. There's plenty of cowl side to adjust to get it to fit perfectly back there. But this has got to be, to me, in my mind, it has to be perfect. Just adjusting the sides. This might be a 3-hour video just doing a cowl. And literally that's how long it takes sometimes if you want it done right, you know. I like the way that feels. I think I might, looks like it's sitting pretty good. Maybe just a hair, just a hair. On both sides. Watch too much. I'm liking that. Okay, so now I got that set perfectly. Let's take this out. That's set perfectly to the spinner ring. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark the edges on either side here. That way I know when I put my cowl on, those edges have to match. I'll do that with a ballpoint pen or a marker, whatever you want to use. I'd use pen, but sometimes they don't mark. And when I'm done marking it, I'll show you. So you can see where I got it marked. On either side, setting perfectly. And if you look at it from the front, you can see it's perfectly level, perfectly vertical, or whatever you'll call it, plumb, I guess. Next, we'll work on the cowl sides to fit to this. So now that I know that I have this setting right where I want it, I'm going to tape it to the spinner. I'm just double checking to make sure that my spinner ring didn't move. Just want to make that, I want to make that as tight to the plane as I can get it, because I don't want it to move while I'm adjusting my other parts. So I'm going to cut this. Yeah, it's obviously time for a new blade. Can't even cut masking tape. All right, none of that's moving. It's on there, and it's perfectly lined up. At least you hope. All right, now I'm going to take one of the cowl sides. I have them taped together now, but once I get them adjusted, I'll tape them back together. I'm just going to place this in there. And I didn't leave any flash on that edge. I don't know why I did that, but I cut most of it off. So I'm gonna, I know you can see that. I still have some line left there. I'm gonna cut that off because I think I can use that room. I'm gonna angle this a little bit, see the lighting may be a little better for you. And as you can see, I need to cut that line as well back here. So I'm going to do that. I'll do that off camera. I'm just going to cut that line and that line to get me better in a better spot. Be right back. Okay, cut that line. So I'm going to bring it up. As you can see, this is pretty even. So I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to measure this line to make sure I have, which is pretty dang close. It's probably the line, but I'm going to look anyway. Yeah, it is that line, so I'm going to work on carving this edge just to that line. I'll be right back. Okay, I got that side trimmed up. Let's see how she fits. Like butter. That looks beautiful. Okay, so I got that. This inside edge, I'm gonna sand that off to where it's nice and smooth. Using a permagrit round file. I'll do that off camera because it's just sanding an edge. Okay, there it is. I just roughed up the inside of that I want to show the camera. I just roughed up the inside of this, inside of the cowl, because I'm at the fiberglass there anyway, so I need something for the fiberglass to stick. Now I'll rough up this edge because it's going to go underneath here to glue, and I should have roughed up this, so I'm going to have to take this back off and sand it too. So, because when I get this all placed, I'm going to tack glue it and then take it off and glue it. So I'm going to go ahead and rough this up, rough the inside edge here up, and then I'll be back with you. Okay, so yeah, I went ahead and taped this on. It fits nice right here. It's going to be pulled out to glue it right there. And I went ahead and shaped up this side. You already saw the one side, so all I got to do now is glue these two cowl sides together, and I think we're ready to take this thing off and shape it up and glass it. Okay, I'm going to try to do this to where you can see what's going on. But what I'm doing is basically pulling this up and lining these edges up and giving it a tape. I'll show you once I get her done here. Okay, so I'm going to do some risky business here. I'm going to tack that right there with some thin CA, just a drop. And I doubt it holds because there's no flange in the back, so we'll see what happens. Okay, let's do this. That fits on there. And it looks like it's gonna fit pretty dang good. So I'm going to just sand these edges here a little bit on each side. And, well, sand that flange off. Well, not the flange, but this hard piece. Clean up this edge. And sand this right here so that when I go to glass it, something will stick to it. And when I go to tack glue this on, it'll hold the two sides together. I'll come back with you when I get this all prepped. Okay, I've got these taped together, as you can see, and I tack glued, or actually I just ran a bead of glue down inside this seam here. It's pretty flat, so I'm happy with that. My only thing is now I got to get this front cowl, you know, I got to match it up back down here and get that glued on. So once I get that done, I'll glue, still haven't done this yet, but I'll glue this one on, this thing on. It's supposed to be centered on there. I'm gonna have maybe a 1/16 of an inch, maybe an 1/8 inch gap. That's no big deal. It'll look fine. Okay, before you guys get all huffy puffy on me, I tack glued the front cowl to here, to the front of the sides. I did that so because it's one side, just wanted to keep pulling in, so I just tacked it. It's all level. Now when I go to put this on where it's supposed to be, it sits dang nice. Maybe. Sits nice over here. What do we gotta do? Oh, yeah. So I'll tape that on and bring you around to show you. Okay. There's the front tacked on, and it's, I didn't glue the top side yet, but it's gonna get glue where it's at. And as you can see, my sides, no gap there. No gap. There's no gap back there because I taped over them. And they were, that was my tripod falling over, if anybody's wondering. Now, I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. Still got a decent gap right there. Looks good. And I'll glue the front cowl on, or the front of the cowl on, I should say. And we'll work on putting those exhaust flaps or radiator flaps, whatever those things are called. We'll get those situated next. Okay, now it's time to, I got this all trimmed up nice and neat. So it's time to glue this on. Basically, this flap, these two flaps is the center here. That just gets, it just gets centered up right there and tack glued on. I'm gonna actually glue it, but I'm gonna take this off to glue it. I think it'd be easier. So let's do that. Okay, so the way I know where to glue it, I basically just push this in until it stops. And that's where it's gonna get tack glued. All along, centered with that. Just like that. But first I gotta roughen up this edge. I already got it roughed up in here. I'm just gonna rough this edge up. That's just so glue has something to stick to. And I roughed up inside here because I'm gonna glass that part in. All right, so I'm gonna hold this, and maybe I'll try to tape it. Let's try to tape it. What do you do with your tape? There it is. Probably best to tape it, that way you know it's right. I'm gonna put a tape here temporarily, because I'll take that off to tack it. I'm gonna go around the side here, and I'm pulling up on it. That'll hold that. Same with this side. Now, before I even start to glue this, I'm going to put it up on the plane and see what it looks like. If it looks like crap, you got to move it. Also, want to make sure my gap's the same on both sides. Oh, that's centered, but it's a little bit bigger on this side than on that side. So what I might do, I'll make this the same as this side. Just trim off that edge. Okay, I got my gap as perfect as I can get it on both sides. It's roughly 3/16 of an inch on both sides, which, if anything, that's going to add a little bit more cooling. You know, it's supposed to be right up to the edge, but you know what? I really don't care. Next one I do will be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and tack glue this in. I'll show you what I do. I basically just put just a dot of CA in there on both sides. Take it off so it don't get glued to your plane. Now I'll go ahead and glue it on, or glue the rest of it. You just run your glue down inside that seam there. And then what I do, see that seam in there, I'll go and run it down that seam too. All these seams will get filled with Bondo. Not on this video. I'm just doing a how I glue my cowl together and trim it. That's what this video is. Next video you'll see it's already going to be Bondoed and sanded. Because I want to get onto that wing. Get that baby finished up. And there it is. The finished cowl fitted. Still got to sand it. I'm going to put the way I'm going to do the glass. It says to put glass along these edges. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put glass up in here like it says. Here and up this seam, and it's basically just the fiberglass cloth mixed in with some epoxy and painted in there, and that's what I'll do next. Okay, see, gap's pretty much the same on the back there. All right, now I'm going to put that fiberglass weave inside, and then after that, I'm going to put the blocks on in the front here. Looks pretty dang good, don't it? True turn milled out the spinner. It's cut for a 3-blade prop. So that'll be going on in place of that top flight spinner. Okay, so now we're going to epoxy these fiberglass strips inside. What I'm going to do is I'll paint some epoxy in here, take the strip, put it in the epoxy, and paint more epoxy over top of that strip until it looks like the strip is soaked. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a good angle for you. I'll try to. Just hold it like that. So I'll get these strips cut to size. Just kind of gonna get a ballpark. I'm gonna leave it hang out over and I'll trim it off after I'm done. Right there. I'll use this one for back here. And then we'll do the center one. I'm going to use 15-minute epoxy. That should be good enough. Make sure you can see everything. Yeah. Alright, so I put my thing on here. Let me get some stir sticks. I have any left. So, tear weight. I'm going to do this in ounces. Probably do. Maybe grams. 6. 7 grams of resin, 7 grams of hardener. This is 15 minutes. I'm probably gonna waste a lot of this. Close enough. I'll mix this up real good and we'll get to painting. What I'm going to do, I'll probably mix up separate epoxy for each strip because I doubt I'm going to be able to get all this on in 15 minutes. The way I do things, it takes, should have used 30 minutes, but I'm running low on 30 minutes. I don't want to run out. I need some. This is just basically to stick the weave down. And then I'll paint a good coat over it. I'm not the best fiberglass guy. I'm going to get that out of my holes there, otherwise I'm not going to glue up very nice. Or not going to look very nice. How do you guys do your fiberglassing? Because this thing is not looking good. I hope my fiberglass job on the airplane looks better than this, because I ain't liking this. What I'll have to do. Then we'll let that dry for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and do the next little piece. Okay, now I'm going to do this center section here. Same dealio. I might go a little less this time. Maybe 5. Yeah. This dang thing is slow. So, 8 grams. Well, these other ones ought to go a lot easier because they're just a flat curve instead of trying to get it pushed up inside there. I never did this on my Goldberg cows. I don't know why they're doing it on these things. Yeah, just get crap everywhere. I don't know how well you guys are seeing this, but I really don't have time to tend to a camera right now. Probably a lot of cringing going on. Wish I could cut that, but it's not going to cut, I guarantee it. No. Oh, that's still wet. Maybe I can get that in there. Oh, it's starting to harden up. Well, if anything, this will give me practice for the next plane. I don't care, you can fall. I'm not gonna get you. What a mess. Well, the more I'm using this stuff, the more I want to monocoat my plane. Trying to get it off the side of my cowl. All right, that's good enough. That's substantially heavier. All right, well that's the fiberglassing of the cowl done by an amateur. Okay, so while this is drying, doesn't that look beautiful? Anyway, while this is drying, I'm going to get these front little blocks set in there, and the way I'm going to do that, I'm going to remove the motor and the spinner, and I'm going to carve this out to where this will sit down in there about halfway. That'll give me my, it's supposed to be in there halfway anyway, but that'll give me, it'll be embedded in there, and I can adjust the angle. So I'm going to sand this at the correct angle that this is at. because you know it's not going to be straight up, it'll be at an angle. So I'm going to adjust it to where when I squeeze in on there, it's not going to pull in too hard. So that's what I'm doing. We'll get set up for that. Okay, so I marked a halfway point on my block. I'm going to set it on here at that halfway point. And then I'm going to draw lines on either side here. And right there is what I have to take out. So I'm going to start with using the razor saw. And I'm hoping I can do this without screwing this thing up. I got, well, filming, that would be kind of sucky. Basically what I'm doing is going down to that line. And going out to that line. Just to get it started. And I'm going to put a sharp blade in my X-Acto, if I can find it. There it is. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it straight down, a little at a time. You don't have to take all of the wood out at once. The whole idea is I'm going to embed that in there. That's what it looks like it's doing in the manual, so that's what I'm going to try to do. Boy, the lighting really sucks in this room. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that, so I'm going to come up high on it. And I'll work my way down with my whittling tools. I'm being really careful. I don't want to break out the side of my cow. Let's see how that fits for now. Pretty good. So now I'm going to come in and use this tool. Not everybody's gonna do all this. It's just something that I want to do. Yeah, right now. All right, let's do another test bit. That is right on the money. So I just got to clean up this edge just a hair. Now I gotta make this 1/16 of an inch. I wouldn't recommend the first time modeler doing this, and because you could go through the other side of your cowl. Now what I need to do is make that to where it don't rock. And I'm going to use thick CA to glue that in instead of epoxy. My reasoning is thick CA, it'll harden really nice, and I think it'll be good enough. I'm not going, I don't want to have a mess inside my cowl or inside the upper like this. That looks like hammered dog crap. So let's get that baby glued in. Pretty sure. Yeah, and I'll have to angle that whenever I, see right there, I'll have to angle it to the right angle in order to get my screw in there. So I'll just use my T-bar sander and sand it to the right angle. But boy, that looks, man, that looks awesome. I hope this side turns out just as good. All right. I still have to shape this side, so I'm hoping that it doesn't show through the dealio. And I'm going to run some thin CA down the gaps. That just soaks in there and hardens it. Don't want to touch that for a while. Bet you don't know why. Oh man. I'm gonna make a little glue fillet with the medium. Never have enough CA on these things. That way it'll give it something to hold it in when I'm putting the screws in. I'm not going to do anything up here on this side because I want that cowl to rest nicely there. That's that side. I'll do the other side off camera and then I'll bring you back in and show you. There it is. Got 2 cowl blocks. They're all in. Ready to be shaped to the correct angle. I'm gonna let these set overnight, so I'll just do that angle sanding off camera, and then I'll show you on the next episode. I'm tired, got to work tomorrow, and don't want to mess anything up, so I'm gonna stop here. Next episode, I'll have these shaped up, cowl on, and we'll I'll shape up all this to the cowl before the next episode. I'll have the cowl set on. So all we're gonna do next episode is get onto the wing. I'm hoping that's my goal. So there it is. How does that look? Got lots of extra glue in there. Want to make sure it ain't going nowhere. But I'm happy with it. So let's cut this right now. Would you look at that? That is beautiful. I'm loving the way that is turning out. I haven't done my, I gotta sand these 2 little blocks to the right angle. That's why it looks like it's protruding out. Fixed my gap issue on these flapper dealios. I just added some 3/16 square stock on either side. Gap gone. So that'll do it for episode 23 of the Top Flite 60 size. Listen, I can't even talk. Of the Top Flite 60 size P-40E Warhawk build. And like I said, before next episode, I'll have this all bondoed, sanded, and the blocks done. I'll even have the screws, you know, put in there so it's permanently mounted, or you know, you can remove it. And I'll have all this excess stuff will be blended in with the cowl. So that'll be done. Next episode, we're mocking up the retracts, sheeting the bottom wing, sheeting the top wing, and we'll be really cutting a chogy, so to speak. So anyway, that'll do it for episode 23. Hope you liked what you saw. Hope you learned something. And like I said, if you like what you see, consider subscribing. Don't want to miss out on all this good stuff. Anyway, till episode 24, thanks for watching.